Welcome back, everyone. Lance Scurv here, lancescurv.com. Always make sure to go to lancescurv.com when you don't see me in certain social media platforms. Yes, it's early in the morning, but for me, it's late because, like we spoke about yesterday, I'm in tune with nature. When the sun comes up, I get up. When the sun goes down, pretty much shortly after, I go down. And I just want to give you another live view of everything. Okay, let me take the blockage off of this camera on the back of this here that I have. And we did a little conversation yesterday. This may not go as long, I don't know. Caught you dozing. But it's okay. Right now it's 6:30 in Ghana, West Africa, up in the mountains. And I know 4 hours behind on the East Coast of the United States, and so on and so forth. And whether there's a ton of people here or not, when I feel to do these, I will do these. It's not as cloudy as it was yesterday, but the clouds are still dissipating. And I don't know if you can see it, but if you look up, you can see the sun poking through. I'll put it maybe and leave it that way, right? It's a beautiful morning as usual. And I am just so enthused for the potential of the day, how it's going to go, and the possibilities of what can happen, expected and unexpected. And that's what kind of keeps me going too. You know, what's going to happen today that I didn't anticipate that's good. Now we know we have things that are bad that can happen, and I don't harp on that. We take precautions, we move in a careful manner, but I'm looking for the positivity of the day. And if it can't be positive, I'm going to leave it alone or just flat leave it and not bother with the energy that comes with that. But I wanted to speak about something, and I've been up for a while, and I woke up a little later than usual. Yesterday, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think I was waiting for the sun to come, like the sun owed me some money or something. Like, hey, you better get here with my money, son. Right? But I woke up and kind of scrolled through a few things to stimulate myself. And what hit me, and I had some messages from my dear sister, who I also call Customato, because she's like a life coach just from the very things that she shares. And we converse pretty much during the all day. And it's just such a positive thing. And I told her the other day, I said, one person like you is worth a million mediocre people. I wouldn't even compare you to mediocre. You know, you're worth your weight in platinum and gold. These are the kind of people we have to have around us in our life. But I woke up thinking about the glass ceiling, limitations, being caught up in the things that we don't need to carry around with us anymore. Let's just say this in a very decent way. You feel good when you're not constipated. When you're constipated, you have things inside of you that you're carrying around that are not necessarily good for you. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. A not 424. Thank you so much. Everything is good. Nature's good. You see, it's beautiful out here. And I'm not only enjoying myself, but I have the feeling of that I'm where I should be. You know, when you put in or put together furniture from Office Depot or what's the other place there? There's a couple places. My mind is slipping as far as my memory in America, right? But you have the instructions and you're like, I don't need these instructions. Or maybe you use the instructions to a certain point. And then after a while, the furniture is put together and every single piece toward the end of you assembling, putting this together, you already know it. This goes here, this goes here. You click and you know it's right. Well, pretty much right now, I feel clicked in. I feel clicked in to my destiny. And for those who don't think I'm live, let me just say good morning. Right? I'm here. If you don't believe me, tell me so many fingers to put up and I'll put it up. There's so many people always, you're not really live. This was not live. But so many of us, we have this thing that we carry with us We accumulate these spiritual substances, emotional substances, and things that we need to get rid of. We have to change our filters. A lot of us are walking around with our filters clogged, and that's not good because it's going to hamper your experience. It's going to hamper your ability to absorb the goodness of life and the joy. I don't know anybody who goes out to lay out in the sun to absorb its precious rays, but puts on an overcoat before they go out there. That's a blockage. But see, you can see the overcoat. I don't know who would do that. But on an emotional and spiritual and mental level, a lot of us have experienced trauma. Sweet berry, sweet berry. Yes, yes, yes. I'm glad you're here. See, you got to look for me around this time because lots of times wait a second, there's two flies messing with me. Let me get this repellent over here. Give me 15 seconds. I'll be right back. I don't think it was 15 seconds. You know, these little buggers that hang around at night, but they run away because of the dragonflies coming out and all the things that can eat them. They're like, listen, his legs looking kind of juicy. Let me go over there and see if I can bite him. Yeah, but too many of us, we forget to, yes, Sister Gifty. I love it. I love it. And plus, I get to give you a little view of the back as the clouds clear away. And it's almost becoming a righteous, I hate to say the word ritual, but there's nothing wrong with the word ritual. But most of us, because we're on social media, we see the word ritual and think it was something dark. No, this is the ritual of brushing your teeth, the ritual of taking a shower, the ritual of that word has gotten such a bad knock. But like I was saying before, we walk with these clogged filters. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And again, for those who don't think I'm live, I am. And it hampers our performance because we can't, therefore, receive the goodness of life because our filters are clogged. Something that happened to us decades ago, mentally. Maybe you were a young student and had something to say, and you took turns going to the front of the class, and what you had to say was instantly ridiculed, and the whole class laughed at you, and you never forgot that. And here you are as an adult, not really remembering the situation, but you still have the feeling and the scar of it. And this may make you shy to do some public speaking. This may make you shy to be assertive in meeting people who at that time were strangers. That was just an example, right? Or maybe you were in business and you were doing well in business. And all of a sudden, business went bad. Maybe not immediately in that particular quarter, but over a year and a half period, and you had to go back and get a job. And you had no problem with that. But there are other business owners who didn't like the fact that you were doing so successful. And now they're ridiculing you for, oh, look, see, you're not really doing so good. So what? We got to break through the glass ceilings of our mind. We have to be in a state of mind where we're living in a limitless manner. And I have to thank my dear sister yesterday for encouraging me to go. And when I say yesterday, we have time differences. So for me, I'm in Tuesday and it's still Monday for most who are listening, right? Or many. Okay, on the East Coast, you're already in Tuesday, but on the West Coast, it's a different story. But to say, hey, now that you are or find yourself, and I'm going to speak in a general way, at this particular junction point in life, don't continue on with the same mindset or expectations. You need to go higher. You need to be a millionaire. And when I say millionaire, don't think that it's just about money. Oh, I'm not going to refuse it. And I'm not just about money. But what we meant to say, and she meant to say when she said millionaire, the highest of the high. Go as high as you can with your potential and beyond. Break through the glass ceiling of your mind. You see what I mean? And so many times we have these expectations that were passed on to us through growing up and through conditioning. Yes, happy Tuesday. And we live this thing out in such a limited way. I know people personally who travel in different parts of America. This particular person has never left the States, and it's no crime if you never did, but I would encourage you to do so as much as you can. And he would go with his wife and kids, and the wife and kids would go out into whatever area it was, whether it was Las Vegas or Orlando, Florida, tourist destinations. And he would sit in his hotel room and watch old DVDs of old sitcoms from back in the 70s. Could you imagine that? You travel to another part of the country that you've never been in, but your mind is so trapped. You have such a glass ceiling that you sit and miss out on the experience of being somewhere else, because this life is a journey and we're to accrue as many experiences as we possibly can. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to fly out every other week to a different place, because see, you can go to a different physical place. Yes, Sister Gifty, and we all do. We all do. Breaks should be part of the work. Breaks should be part of the effort. Even finely conditioned boxers who can go 12 rounds and formerly 15 rounds, they still need to get that 1 minute break, right? And so when we do take breaks, we should not feel guilty for it, because it's going to make us better when we do put the vehicle back on the track. We all need a pit stop. And sometimes they're not scheduled. Sometimes you may notice something with your vehicle, meaning you, us, and you say, hey, it's Thursday, but I got to call out from work, or it's Thursday and I work for myself, but tomorrow, you know what? I'm going to the beach. And then I'll come back and possibly do some work. But we have to shock the system into ascension. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to compare it to bodybuilding. If you go to the gym and do the same exact thing every day, the same intensity, the same weight, the same level, your body is not going to be pushed to go to the next level. That's just the way it happens. It's not going to go to the next level because you're not making a demand of it. But it doesn't mean that your gym time is one long set of just doing, because you need to get your breaks in. Go to the water cooler, get a sip of water, and come back. This is how you build. I don't know anyone who built a house in one day. I don't know anyone who built a career in one day or one season. You have plans. You have a blueprint. You take your time incrementally and build on that, knowing that if I do this step today, that I will be in a better position tomorrow, and this vision will come true. And it's like I said yesterday in a conversation, the old Polaroid camera. You take the picture and you pull out the little piece of film that's there, and you don't see anything yet. But over time, it fades in. The trick is, and this is something I've known all my life, damn near from birth. And I'm not saying this to come off like I'm some guru on the mountaintop, but I'm an artist. And when I see a blank piece of paper, I don't see a blank piece of paper. I see the finished product. Now it's my job to convince you, by me being diligent in putting pen and pencil to paper, to make you see what I saw. And then you say, oh, okay. Now I've made you a believer in the process. Because if I prove to you that I can put down an image that I see in my mind, then next time you see the blank piece of paper, you're going to say, Lance, what are you going to draw today? I know it's going to be good. Now you know that I know of what I will do. And I say, hey, give me a little time. You'll see what I have in my mind. DX, welcome on in. I'm glad to see you here. But that's how it works. What is trapping your mind? What's stopping you from being that millionaire? And again, it's not just cash that I'm talking about. It's not just money that I'm talking about. But what's stopping you from becoming that millionaire? The millionaire in your education, the millionaire in how you feel about yourself, the millionaire in removing the low self-esteem, the millionaire in getting your life together so that you have energy to go after your goals. Right, right. To banish fear. All of these things that are put on us, because in this society, if you really look at it, especially in America, we are trained from young to fit into a system. How dare you? And I'm not saying you, how dare the system train us? They tell you one thing: you can be anything you want to be, you can do anything, but then they train you to be a wage slave. Yes, and for many years I was a wage slave, right? Most of us have been a wage slave. Not saying it was such a low paying job, but we have to get the money and we have to go to a job until we get on our feet. But what's the next level? You know, and I'm not saying I'm some success story because I'm still pushing. I'm just sharing the journey, hence the visual of what you see in front of you, which was not reality for me at one point. And again, I am not a millionaire, but I pushed beyond the glass ceiling of my mind to know that I can live well even if I don't have millions. But you know what? I'm not ashamed to say I will get that too. That's not a problem. Why do we feel guilty when we think about money? I don't have it right now, but I will have it. Right now, I'm looking at a blank piece of paper financially and saying that in my lifetime, this is what I'm going to have. And why? So I can sit up and look at several cars and build homes and walk around with a robe and a gold chain and go on the balcony and say, the world is mine. And then transition. What good is that? It's our duty. And we guarantee our success even more when we take our candle to light somebody else's candle. We take the flame and the energy that we have to light up somebody else's candle. And then when we transition, our work would be righteous. You see what I mean? Exactly. Fear of failure and making a fool of oneself. I don't care. My friends will tell you. It was back in maybe November or December of 1979. And I decided at that age of 16 years old, after training a bit in a local gym, that I was going to go into my first bodybuilding competition. And my two friends, they were enthusiastic for my chances. I just wanted to go in to see what the experience was like. And the competition was 2 months after that, January of 1980, which I turned 17 in April. And I saw the looks on their faces. I didn't look the way I ultimately would look at my best, but I had it in my heart to go in. And the looks in their eyes, I didn't want to say anything to them. They were telling me, hey, you need to work on this a little more, work on that a little more. But basically, it was almost like they were looking at a sheep that was being led to slaughter and didn't know. And many times we won't get the positive feedback from many people because they don't understand that they can believe in themselves or know in themselves. So how are they going to know in what you do? So lots of times, unless you have a dynamic person in your life that knows the ups and downs and has tasted success and is driven and motivated, you're pretty much not going to get much from the people around you. Again, unless they're special that way. If they have a mediocre mindset and they have cowered below the glass ceiling of their mind and they talk the good talk, but they don't go after it. I want to transition striving. Now, right now, I don't want to transition. I'm kind of enjoying myself in this world on this level. And there's things that I have to do, but so be it if the creator wants me to come sooner. But I don't believe that is the case. I think I'm only getting started. But so many of us talk the good talk and we relegate ourselves to, I won't even say negativity. I'll just say mediocrity. Mediocrity is negativity when you accept that, because not one of you here were created to be mediocre. I always use the analogy of the toolbox and the hammer and the screwdriver, how it's used so much, and you being the special tool if you feel as though life passed you by and there's nothing for you to do unique. And the time comes when you're needed and your unique abilities over and above what the hammer and the screwdriver can do are displayed for the world, and they show or appreciate your greatness in your being unique. It's just a matter of us discovering what it is we were put here for. But everybody has something unique. But most of the time, we kill it off ourselves by not changing the filters in our life. How many times have we known a great athlete, come to the basketball court with no training and just whip everybody in the game effortlessly? But they got a drinking problem. They have a drug addiction. I've known many people, and I'm not into basketball per se. I just use that as an example. But there are a few individuals who I've known that were legend in the streets of New York City. And I forgot what the name was. It's in Greenwich Village on 6th Avenue off of 3rd Street. 3rd Street. And there's always a basketball game going on there, usually sometimes in the wee hours. There's always a game going on there. And there have been some people who have passed through those courts. I remember reading an article of this one particular guy who would come down there. He was so tall, almost 7 feet, if not 7 feet, something. And this guy had a drug addiction so bad. But they knew that there was no player in the NBA who would whip this guy. Even NBA players knew there were people who were scouts looking for this guy. But he had such a drug problem and it never went past a certain point. Don't be that person. With him, it was a drug problem. But for many, it's a lack of confidence. And maybe there are some who grew up in family units where maybe the mother or the father or sisters or brothers fed into you negativity because of their own insecurity. You know how many people see greatness in you and they always want to throw something negative in there to stop you from pursuing your journey and your road to greatness. And we're not going to say, oh, I know I'm great, so I'm going to go. No, but what you're supposed to do to amplify you so that eventually you can take your flame and light somebody else's candle. That's how you live forever. That's how your energy is justified. Because if I'm going to sit here and be envious on someone who's mediocre, what does that make me? That makes me mediocre. I've had people tell me all kinds of things in a way of caring. I had someone tell me not too long ago, who I thought was in my corner, Lance, you know, you must not go online every day. You must make the people miss you. You're doing too much. This is only advice from the heart. Yeah, right, because you mad because I'm just doing the damn thing. When it's time for you to put the pedal to the metal because that's what you feel in your heart, you do so, no matter how crazy they think the idea is. And if you do fall, understand you can get up and then you know how not to walk the next time. You'll walk a little stronger, you'll walk down a different road. you repair yourself and you keep on going. My dear friend Sean Lewis, who I used to work with, driving for the Lynx Bus Company in Orlando, Florida, he was probably about 20 years younger than me, maybe 18 years or whatever. But he admired my efforts on so many different things. And he was great also. He was deeply into music and he knew everything about equipment and he would show me things and he taught me so much. And why do I say was? And then he transitioned in 2020, months before we moved out to Ghana. And he knew we were doing it and he was so excited. And he was like, Lance, when you finally could get out there, and the reason why we were speaking this way was because, the whole C-19 thing was going on and the Ghanaian borders were closed and opened up September 2nd, 2020. But from June, he had transitioned. And it made my heart heavy because when I got the call from his brother, I had my monopod that has 3 legs on the bottom in my hand, and I was about to go out into the yard and record a video. And when I got the news and spoke to the brother for a while, because I know he had so many phone calls to make, and I had just spoken to the brother, my friend Sean, 2 days before. So I started the video and I broke down crying and I had to change the subject and I didn't change it. I just spoke about it and I went on talking about what I wanted to talk about. And I kind of incorporated that into the subject. But every time this happens, it gives me a boost, not because I'm happy and I feel elevated because somebody I know so close to me transitioned. No. But the responsibility to go on in the race. And I'm not racing anyone. I'm just saying this symbolically. In your own journey, get stronger. Harriet Tubman could have just stayed up north, but she had a burning desire to come back and free more of those who were enslaved and those who knew they were enslaved and weren't afraid to break that cycle because there were some who were content with the little bit of life that they have. And there's so many people that we know that we love that feel the same way about life. And sometimes even those that love us, and they really do, when they see us breaking the cycle, they feel bad when they should feel good. And why is it that they feel bad? They feel bad because what you're doing shows them what they have not been doing for themselves. And it doesn't mean they have to do the same thing. You might be a person who wants to be an archaeologist. You might be a person who wants to go to college at 65, just because. Whatever it may be, it doesn't have to be the standard thing, but understand that there's sometimes people who have accepted mediocrity, yet they say they worship a mighty God. What an insult to the Creator. And it doesn't mean we're going to be super positive all the time. We all have our down moments, and sometimes that's the universe saying, hey, take a break. Because your enthusiasm can be something that can destroy you too if you don't know how to balance out your energies. But most people, because of the glass ceiling of their minds, will bend down to not hit their head on the ceiling and relegate themselves to a life of mediocrity. And it's so funny, and I'm not saying this is humorous, I'm just saying it as a figure of speech. The glass ceiling could be 50 feet above your head. And here you are walking around as though it's 5 feet, and if you stand up straight, you're gonna knock your head. I don't mind bumping my head on this fake glass ceiling because I know there's no ceiling. You say you worship a limitless God who created the universe. Yet you relegate yourself to being limited. And you say, and I'm just saying this as a figure of speech because I'm talking to black folks. I'm a child of God. I'm blessed and highly favored and accept mediocrity. What kind of mess is that? I'm not accepting mediocrity. And even still, even I needed to be jump started yesterday when I listened to the words of my sister, who always encourages me and always in my corner, as I am in hers. And here I am in the boxing ring of life. I might have caught a blow that I shouldn't have caught because in training, I trained to not let the opponent, because of his unique style, hit me that way. But I got hit, and you go back to your corner and you need to be reminded of what you trained for. And that smack in the face, which is a smack in the face out of love, which was nothing compared to the blow that I took, woke me up because of who it came from. And this is why you have to have a team, even if that team is just one person, that you have to know that you know that you know that they righteously love you and are in your corner and will tell you the things that other people who are relegated to mediocrity will not tell you because they want you there with them. The mediocre ones want you there with them. You ever see, and I'm quite sure you have, especially if you've lived in any major city in the United States. It could be Atlanta, it could be Oakland, it could be New York City, Miami, Dallas, Fort Worth, wherever, Las Vegas. There's always that hood liquor store. Now, hood doesn't just mean black, but lots of times we mean it that way. But we have the poor white trash neighborhoods, but it doesn't seem to operate that way. You go into any hood and you'll see a liquor store. And in that liquor store or around that liquor store, you'll see a bunch of men. It's sad, but I have to comment on that. Oh, look at this comment from Gifty. How differently would we behave if we had no fear of that glass ceiling? Yes, and thank you for saying that. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I'm gonna put that there. I forgot I had that ability to put that up on the screen. But when you see the liquor store, you see one person who owns the liquor store. You may not see them, but you know somebody owns this establishment. And if they're not there, there's somebody working there for them. But outside, you might see 5, 10, 15, even 20 men. And don't think that I mean it just, yes, it's always assumed that way. And I'm just speaking loose right now amongst family. I'm not going to do any statistics and whatever, but hood really is a state of mind. Because somebody else with another mindset will come through, and we call it gentrification, and turn that place around. God didn't make any hoods. Many of us have accepted that. And many of us continue to keep it going. You see? But thank you, raw fats. Raw fats is a good thing. The essential fats, right? Not the triglycerides or not the trans fats. Is there anything good trans? Wow. But outside, you'll see what many would call, and I'm not putting anybody down. Many people put themselves down, and when you say it, they get mad at you like you put them in that position. Always respect and love raw fats. You'll be out there with the wine bibbers and the ones who many people call winos, wine heads, alcoholics. And the Creator didn't make them that. But they've put themselves and allowed themselves, sometimes from traumatic situations or being broken. We understand that. But when you see them out there, and when I used to drive the bus in Orlando and even growing up in New York City, I said, look at this. Oh, your transformation is good. That's right. Oh, we know that. We know there's some good trans, but not talking this other stuff. But you're right, Sister Gifty. It hit me on one of my bus routes, driving up and down and up and down. And I would drive from the middle or late afternoon into the wee hours. So I saw the transition of people coming home from work, changing their clothes and coming out to shop or coming out to go for an evening run or go to the gym or just take a walk or just sit out on their steps. And I got to see this rhythm. And sometimes if I did overtime and drove from early, I would drive past these liquor stores when they were open and see some of the same brothers out there. And driving at night, you see some of the same brothers out there. Sometimes much older, sometimes in their 40s, but you would see them out there. And it hit me when I saw one of them who was always out there. And I mean, a lot of these guys didn't seem to be too enthusiastic to visit the shower, if you know what I mean. So they had a look of not being too well kept, but they lived somewhere. They might have lived with their sister. They might have rented a place and had a little tiny social security check that was barely enough, but they lived somewhere. Some of them didn't. But there was one who cleaned his act up, and it wasn't overnight. He got on the bus and I saw him. It was clean cut. He told me, "Driver, you've always been good to me. Sometimes I didn't have the money for the fare and you let me go." I said, "That's what I'm supposed to do, as long as you're not taking advantage of my job." But he said, "I'm moving away now. I'm going back. I'm going back to Louisiana, where I was born and raised." And this was in Orlando, Florida, where I drove the bus. I said, "Oh," I said, "that's wonderful." I said, "Brother, you've been looking pretty upbeat these days." He says, "Man, you can go ahead and say it. I've been out here for years drinking and doing nothing, but I decided to elevate because I know God did not make me to be this way." And I said, "I'm so glad for you, brother. I just wish the other brothers out here would realize that." And the funny thing, there was a small supermarket. I won't even say supermarket. It was a small market next door to this liquor store, which was really located in a rest area along my bus route, that if you got there too early ahead of the schedule, say, for example, I was supposed to leave from that point at 7:30, but I got there at 7:23. I couldn't leave until 7:30 because there are people who are waiting for the bus who might just get there at 7:30. And when you leave early, it's called running hot. And supervisors didn't like that, right? So for me, when I would go to the stop occasionally after the man had left and went to Louisiana, I heard the other winos out there talking so bad about the guy. And I'm like, and I know a few of these guys out there say, "Hey man, did he do something to you? Did he owe you money or something? And you left or whatever?" And they said, "No, he think he better than us. He didn't want to drink no more. Who he think he is? He a wino just like us." See, there's some people who are cool with you when you want to stay on a certain level with them. And it's almost like a nonverbal agreement to stay in a place of mediocrity. That if you dare to be great, and it's not even a dare, we're supposed to strive. You know? Yes, Sister Gifty. She says, "I cry for our lost brothers. They are all just afraid little boys in men's bodies." Exactly. And so there's so many of these people in men's bodies who are little boys who don't want you to strive to be a man or to be a fully developed woman. So you broke the agreement of mediocrity and you refuse to break through the glass ceiling of your mind. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So lots of times You will see people come into your life, and you're already on your journey of ascension to maximize the potential that's guaranteed if you put yourself into motion and have the knowledge, not even just the belief, but you gotta know that you're gonna reach this pinnacle, which there is no limit. Because once you hit one pinnacle for the time, you can go higher. Isn't that something? When you look at the Olympic weightlifting or the weightlifting, not bodybuilding, but weightlifting, where you have to lift the powerlifting, and you have all these guys over the years who can't seem to break a record in a certain movement, the deadlift, the bench press, the clean and jerk. And as soon as one person goes a quarter of a pound over the limit of what seemingly couldn't have been broken before, everybody now knows that it's something that you can achieve. And that record shortly thereafter that was long standing becomes a thing of the past. Now, most people are going past it because one person did it. Does it take somebody to do something around you to make you know that you can go past that glass ceiling, go past that record that never been broken? We're here to break records. We're here to break records in our bloodline. Just like that little girl who was the first little girl in the whole family to go to college. Just like that young man who started a business and nobody in the family ever started a business. And even when everybody in the family loves this son or brother, they always had a job to go to, and he did too. But he saw beyond that. So sometimes you'll get opposition from the ones who are supposed to be on your team, because now you're going into uncharted waters. And they don't understand that. And it makes them and forces them to reflect back on themselves. Come on now. You know, holiday just finished. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, or Hanukkah or not, or Passover or whatever it is that people celebrate, you eat a little bit. You go past a friend's house and they got food, and hey, listen, we got this macaroni and cheese. This is, oh, and you know they make it good. They give you some, and they give you a little plate. If they know you're real good, they don't give you a paper plate. They give you a whole bowl because they know they're going to see you again. You're going to bring that bowl back. And you take it home and you eat. And you go here and you go there and you say, hey, wait a second, this belt is getting tight. Not because I just ate, but normally when I wake up, this belt is getting tight, which means you put on weight, right? So now you're at the red light, driving, people in the morning time. Some of them are working. Some of them are off that day. And you see someone who resembles you physically, height wise, and, sex, race. You identify with them, except they're jogging in the morning and they have a body beautiful. And what do? Oh man, we look down at our gut and say, I got to get it together. You don't hate on that person, but because they're making the effort to achieve a higher sense of health and physical well-being, it reminds you of what you're not doing. So when you strive, and it doesn't have to be going to the gym, when you strive to work hard, and you pass that one who is hustling you, trying to beg you money, not one who really needs it, but they're watching you every morning. Go to work. That is, if you are walking and have to take the bus because you're on foot and you have a close relationship with them as far as saying good morning and, can you have a couple pennies? No, I don't have it. Now they know that it's payday and you're coming home with groceries. They know you got money. You don't have money to toss it away, and it's on principle. Now all of a sudden they get mad at you, but they got up every day to beg. And they could have taken that same energy, even if they didn't have a job or wasn't worthy of some types of employment, maybe because of their criminal past, but they can at least go to somebody and say, hey, I need money. Is there anything that I can do to just make a little bit, to make it easier on you and make it where I can be able to feed myself? You see, you're right. You're right, raw fats. If you grow, you leave them lonely at the top. And that's a loneliness that you're going to have to get used to, because we can always get sentimental and get drawn back in because of the camaraderie with mediocre people. And I'm not trying to label them and say that I'm better than them, but you have to know that greatness is inside of you, the seeds of greatness. I don't want to die with the seeds not planted. I don't want to die with the flame from my candle not lighting up others. That's real legacy. Because there's nobody who has transitioned off of this level who, at their homegoing service, somebody got up and said, oh, yeah, they were known for the 3 houses they had. Man, them rims they had on the car, man, them things, man, that person was great. Well, they died with 5 million in the bank. No, they pretty much might not have liked you for having those things. And they're going to fight over those very things and don't give a damn about you. And we're not saying everybody. But stop living for other people who do not want to go past. They should be busy doing the damn thing, even in the darkness, meaning that not when the lights are out, but when they're not being acknowledged, you still do it. You do it, you do it. Like Mike Tyson said, you got to do something that you hate and you got to do it like you love it. Do the thing that, and I'm not saying your area of expertise is something that you hate, but there may be aspects of it that you don't really want to do. You want to do the fun parts. You love what you do, but it's like, I don't want to read this chapter in this book. I probably know everything about it, but you might extract one thing out of it. You got to be a student of the game. If you want to break that glass ceiling that most people acknowledge, I don't acknowledge. Ain't no damn ceiling over my head. And I thank the creator, my parents created me that way, not just from sperm hitting egg, but after I came out, the positive affirmations, and even when I was in my mother's stomach, how she spoke to me and how my father spoke to me. That even though I got caught up in the hedonistic pleasures of the world and loved the beauty of women, and I still do in a righteous level, but I had my phases of, not being able to say no. But never would I desecrate myself on other levels on a permanent way. I knew that that was going to be a phase of my life, and it was quite difficult to evolve from that. Most would understand. But I was not put here just to be one who let the biological functions take over my life. I love to eat. I love a good meal. I love a good night's sleep. I love to laugh. The bodily functions are there that we have to do because we are in these vehicles called bodies in this journey. But I look at it like Super Mario Brothers, or the old version from back in the 80s. I don't know about the other ones. Nintendo. Do 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 do. Boing. Do 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 do. And he jumped through worlds. We came with our energy from somewhere. Our energy is going somewhere. But while we walk through this world, I'm trying to jump on as many coins and as many nuggets of wisdom to build up the score, to build up what I have within me that will come with me. The realization after I transition, because I can't take the material with me. So that's not just the focus. Of course, I'm enjoying the building of a structure that I will call home the way I like it. But one day there's going to be somebody else living in this place. And they might not even know what my name was. Where you live now. Do you know the people who lived there before? Maybe you did. Maybe you purchased a house from somebody and you knew who they were. But did they build that place? How about the people, 5 people back? Do you know them? Do you know who your great, 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 great grandfather and mother are? They thought about the future and thought about you in concept, but they don't know you. But guess what? You're carrying their DNA. You're carrying their upbeat side. You're carrying their trauma. You're carrying things that were handed to you that you inherited in this hand of cards out of the deck. Your DNA, your propensity to possibly catch cancer, your propensity to be a fast runner or a quick thinker. We're handed a deck that we have no control over. Deal with that. But there is no glass ceiling. But the world has convinced us of this. And I think with all that we have to deal with in the hand that we have, because any hand that you're handed can win the game. It's all how you play the cards that you have. And this is what most people do not understand. You look, and I'm not a person who plays cards. I did years ago and forgot how to play half of those games. You know, you hang out with guys that not gambling now, but you play a little card game or board games like Monopoly. I couldn't tell you how to play Monopoly, and I haven't played it in so long. But there were certain card games that we would play innocently with friends of mine when times were more social. They had the board games, Monopoly, Trouble. You know, Trouble, you had to push down that little plastic dome and there was some dice in there. And that told you how many moves to make before you came home. And in the Caribbean, they have the game called Ludi, which is the same concept. And they have different names for that, the Ludi board, right? I gotta make one of those, a custom Ludi board. And that's when times were better, when we related to each other even more so. But some people been dishing out the cards and handing out the cards out of the deck. But look at their hand and all of a sudden, yeah, look at that. I know I'm gonna win. But didn't have a clue in how to maneuver those cards to guarantee the win. And then you had a shrewd person who had a really poor hand. And the one who wasn't playing, who was peeking over at everybody, looked at his hand and said, "Oh, God, I don't know what you're going to do with that hand." But over time, that person knew how to play that hand they were given and eventually won the game. So you might have the hand of maybe being born to a mother who was addicted to crack. You may have had the hand where you didn't have enough money to get the schooling for the profession that you wanted to get into. You may not have had the hand of a father who was there for you. Maybe he ran off with another woman. We don't know. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying that even when you have a hand that doesn't seem like a winning hand, you can still win the game. It's not about the hand that you have. It's about the passion you have inside. And you can't let this fake behind glass ceiling stop you. You must break the glass ceiling of your mind. I know what I intend to do today. It's 7:22 in the morning in West Africa in the mountains in Accra, Ghana, on the outskirts of Accra, excuse me, 'cause that's the major city, 30 minutes away. And I know what I intend to do. And maybe it's not the divine order for me to do those things, but something good is going to happen, whether I intended for it to happen or not. And I accept that. But I'm not going to wake up and look at the glass ceilings of those who are around me or those who are in my DNA bloodline. Thank the Creator. It's nothing but positivity because I'm a champion. I was groomed to be a champion. Even when you take losses in life, which are only temporary, you must know that you're a champion. You must know that you're going to rise. You must know that if you get knocked down, you'll get up. There's no glass ceiling. In a boxing match, a fighter gets knocked down. Does he say, "I'm going to stay down"? I don't think I was supposed to be champion anyway. I made a little bit of money. Let me just take this money, retire, and go on home, get me a little job. When you hit one level, you're supposed to reach for the other level, the next level. And that was what was reminded to me yesterday by a person who I cherish greatly in my life. Exactly. Raw facts. Raw fats, right? I put a C in there and said raw facts. You're raw fats and raw facts because you speak nothing but the facts. Free yourself from your self-inflicted prison. Be greater daily. There are many people who I know who have relegated their lives to mediocrity and get angry every time I reinvent myself. People that I've known personally who've spoken negativity into my life, to mutual people. They are assigned demons to my life who may call themselves friends, but they're there to cheer on negativity. You'll have friends who are there only when you're going through rough times, but they don't want to be around you when you're going through good times because they want to see you fall. And as you continue to rise, they just don't want to be around you anymore because I can't get a rush out of this because this person is still growing. People say, oh man, Lance, the life you live in now, I couldn't believe, man. Why not? If you think this is something, buckle your seatbelts, baby, because we gonna go on a ride. I'm going out in a blaze. I'm looking for the glass ceiling. I got a hammer in my hand. I'm gonna smash that bad boy, but I know it doesn't exist. I just want to say that I know I'll probably be out here tomorrow morning. I got shows that I'll do today and work to get me dusty and dirty. I'm gonna eat something and do a few chores around the house. I'm gonna stay in for another day. I don't even want to leave this place. I don't want to leave this scenario. And I hate to go down into the city now as I cleanse myself and focus on the positive and incrementally try to make things better every day. There's no house, there's no structure that was built overnight. You have a plan and a vision and you work on it. You don't let how huge the project is overwhelm you. You focus on that one part and perfect it. And when the next day comes, you have a new mission to bring that into total fruition in reality. Because if you can think it, it's real. There's nothing out here that you can look at that wasn't the product of a thought. Even you look at the plants and the sun and see, that's what we have to understand. That there's a creator. This did not happen by chance. But everything, that telephone pole, that spoon, that toilet, it may not have been perfected immediately, but it's the product of a thought. I'm going to keep this just under an hour so I can distribute it to different platforms. I'm going to say, have a wonderful day, positive day. We'll be back later on today. Much love to you all. Thank you very much for being here. And it's always a joy. Thank you. Much love to you all. Lance Skirv out. Peace.